All right, so you guys send us down a total rabbit hole with this one AI music and copyright.
Yeah.
And get this, one artist actually, copyright, claimed himself using AI-generated music.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of YouTube comments here on Venus Theory's video. AI copyright claimed my last video, plus some clips from the video itself.
Okay.
Venus Theory, he's a music creator, and he's understandably like freaking out about what this all means for the future of music.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
It's like we're looking at this clash between technology moving at warp speed
Right.
and legal systems that are just stuck in the slow lane.
Oh, yeah.
Copyright law is having a tough time keeping up with AI, and that's a big deal for everyone.
Totally.
Whether you're making music or just listening to it.
Exactly. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll have a handle on what AI copyright means for you.
Absolutely.
So Venus Theory, what he's highlighting here is a fundamental challenge to how we even define creativity and ownership.
It really is.
In this digital age, right?
Yeah.
If AI can just create a song that sounds like it was written by a human,
Right.
what does that even mean for the concept of authorship?
I mean, who's the artist at that point?
Whoa! Okay, so before we get too deep into the existential stuff,
Yeah.
let's break down what actually happened to Venus Theory.
Okay, so...
He used royalty-free AI-generated music in one of his videos, thinking he was totally in the clear.
Totally.
And then what happens?
He gets hit with a copyright claim.
I know, right?
Like, what?
Talk about a system that's not quite working as intended.
Yeah, I mean, it's really showing its cracks right now in
Totally.
this situation.
So even when you're following the rules, the current system can be exploited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Venus Theory's story is like a giant flashing warning sign
It is.
for anyone creating content.
Huge red flag.
Definitely makes you think twice about that royalty-free label, huh?
Yeah.
So to understand why AI is causing so much chaos in the copyright world, we need to take a look at how it messes with some of the core principles of music copyright.
Absolutely. So traditional music copyright, it covers things like the melody, the lyrics, and the overall structure of the song, those unique elements that give a song its character.
Right.
Things like chord progressions and even the specific instruments used.
And then to prove infringement, you usually have to show substantial similarity in access.
Right, exactly.
But AI throws a wrench in all of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Access traditionally meant somebody heard your song and then copied it.
Right.
But AI can just listen to millions of songs online.
Crazy.
And create something new based on all that data.
Right.
And it might sound really similar to something that you wrote, even though no human actually copied anything.
So you're telling me I could pour my heart into a song.
Yeah.
Someone could use AI to whip up something that sounds almost identical, and they could claim that I'm infringing on them.
It's wild, isn't it?
That's terrifying.
It highlights how unprepared we are for this new reality.
Yeah.
For sure.
And speaking of unprepared, one commenter in the YouTube thread made this really chilling analogy.
Oh, yeah.
They called AI music copyright laundering.
Oh, wow. That's a really powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's like taking dirty money, mixing it with clean money to make it untraceable.
Right.
But in this case, we're talking about the very building blocks of creativity getting muddled.
Yeah.
It's like a
Okay.
mess.
Okay. So we got this system where AI can create music that sounds like existing work.
Right.
And copyright law is struggling to keep up.
Totally.
To make matters even worse. Venus Theory didn't just sit back and complain about it.
No.
He decided to test the system himself,
Oh, wow.
which is amazing.
So what did he do?
He went on an AI music platform, whipped up a track that sounded suspiciously like his own music,
Okay.
and then used a distribution service to upload it.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? That AI-generated track triggered a copyright claim on his own video.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, crazy. The most alarming part,
Yeah.
the whole thing took about 20 minutes and cost him around $30.
So you're saying for the price of a takeout lunch, anyone can potentially weaponize AI to exploit the system?
It's messed up.
That's seriously messed up.
So this isn't some far-off futuristic problem. This is happening right now.
Yeah,
And it shows just how vulnerable creators are in this new landscape.
Absolutely.
And Venus Theory makes a great point.
Yeah.
YouTube's Content ID system, which is supposed to be the watchdog for copyright,
Right.
isn't even equipped to handle these AI-generated music disputes.
It's like trying to use a 19th century map to navigate a 21st century city.
Yeah.
The tools we have just aren't built for this.
So where does that leave us?
Yeah.
What does all this mean for the average person who just wants to enjoy their favorite tunes?
Yeah.
Well, it means we could be headed toward a world where listening to music becomes a minefield of legal issues.
No.
You know, imagine your favorite playlist suddenly being decimated
Right.
because half the songs are caught up in copyright battles triggered by AI.
Yeah.
It changes how we experience music at its very core.
And it's not just music lovers,
Yeah.
right? Content creators could face claims for using music that sounds like AI-generated tracks, even if they never used AI themselves.
Oh, totally. The potential for collateral damage is massive. You know, this could stifle creativity and innovation across the board. It's a system-wide issue that we need to address.
And it's almost philosophical, right?
Yeah.
One commenter in the YouTube thread said, "Is there anything we won't do to undermine ourselves in reality with this video game simulation matrix mentality?"
Whoa.
I know, right?
It really makes you think, huh?
Yeah.
Like, this whole situation really forces us to confront some fundamental questions about, like, what even makes us human, you know? The ability to create, to express ourselves, to connect through art and music. These are all things that define us.
Totally. And if AI can just replicate those things, does it devalue them? Does it make them less meaningful?
That's the debate, right? Like, some people think that AI can actually make creativity more accessible,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But others worry that it could lead to this, like, homogenization of art and culture.
Right.
Imagine a world where every song kind of sounds the same because they've all been generated by algorithms that were trained on the same data.
It's like feeding the algorithm junk food
Yeah.
and then being surprised when it spits out more junk food.
Exactly. The output of these AI models is only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
And if that data is limited or biased or just not representative of the full spectrum of human creativity, then we're going to have a problem,
Huge problem.
for sure.
Okay, so what can we do about this?
Right.
Where do we even begin to untangle this mess?
Well, for starters, we need some, like, clear legal guidelines, you know? The courts need to step in, set some precedents for how copyright law applies to AI-generated content.
Yeah.
Like, do these works even qualify for copyright protection?
Right.
And if so, who owns the copyright?
Yeah.
Is it the person who created the AI?
Yeah.
Is it the person who used the AI to generate the work?
Right.
Or does the concept of ownership even apply here?
Right.
Like, these are all big, thorny questions that need some answers.
Absolutely. And what about the platforms?
Oh, yeah.
Where all this music is being shared and consumed.
Mhm.
What's their responsibility in all of this?
Yeah, platforms like YouTube and Spotify have a huge role to play.
For sure.
They need to develop systems that can, like, effectively identify and manage AI-generated content.
Right.
This might involve creating new algorithms, working with rights holders to come up with new licensing models, or even, like, creating separate platforms or categories specifically for AI-generated music.
Well,
it's a massive undertaking,
it is.
but it's one they can't afford to ignore.
So it sounds like we're going to need a whole new set of rules for the AI age.
We absolutely do, and these rules need to be created collaboratively, you know,
Yes.
with input from artists, technologists, legal experts, and policymakers.
Everyone.
It's a global issue that requires a global solution.
Absolutely. Okay, so back to Venus theory for a second.
Okay.
He used this royalty-free AI-generated music thinking he was in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets hit with a copyright claim.
Right.
What actually happened there?
Yeah, so it's a perfect example of how murky this whole situation is, you know?
Right.
So it's likely that someone took a piece of existing music, maybe even one of Venus Theory's own tracks,
Okay.
and fed it into an AI music generator.
Uh-huh.
The AI then created a new track that was, like, similar enough to the original to trigger Content ID,
Right.
even though it was technically a new work.
So essentially someone used AI to copyright launder a piece of music
Yeah.
and then claimed ownership of it.
Exactly. That's one possible scenario. And because Content ID isn't designed to differentiate between human-composed music and AI-generated music, the system flagged Venus Theory's video as infringing.
Ah, so frustrating.
It is.
It's a classic catch-22. Even if you're trying to follow the rules, you're still vulnerable.
And the burden of proof often falls on the creator to prove that they didn't infringe.
Right.
Which can be a very time-consuming and expensive process.
Absolutely. So Venus theory also talks about this lack of transparency in how these AI music platforms are trained.
Right.
He mentions that one platform, Suno, admitted to training its models on music from the open internet.
Okay.
Can you explain what that means?
Sure. So basically it means they're scraping any and all music they can find online,
Okay.
regardless of copyright status.
Wow.
This includes music from streaming services, personal websites, even social media platforms.
So they're just treating the internet like a giant free-for-all buffet
Yeah.
of musical data.
Ex-
So they're potentially training their AI on music that artists haven't given them permission to use.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we're seeing legal challenges from organizations like the RIAA, who argue that this practice violates the rights of artists and copyright holders.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It also raises questions about the ethics of AI development in general, right?
Mhm.
Like, should companies be allowed to train their models on any data they can find, regardless of the source?
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
On one hand, proponents of AI argue that open access to data is crucial for innovation, and restricting access would hinder progress.
Okay.
On the other hand, you have artists and copyright holders who argue that their work is being exploited without their consent or compensation.
Right.
So it's a tough one.
It sounds like the Wild West out there,
Yeah.
with everyone rushing in to grab what they can
Yeah.
without much regard for the consequences.
That's a good analogy. The legal and ethical frameworks haven't caught up with the technology. We're still figuring out how to navigate this uncharted territory.
So what's the answer? Do we need to lock down all data and make everything private?
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
We need to find a balance between promoting innovation and protecting the rights of creators.
Okay.
This might involve creating clear guidelines for data usage, developing new licensing models, or even establishing systems that allow artists to opt in or opt out of having their work used for AI training.
Right.
It's a lot to consider.
Yeah, it sounds like a monumental task
It is.
to get this all figured out.
But it's a conversation that needs to happen on a global scale.
Venus Theory's experience is a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that we can't just sit back and wait for someone else to fix this.
We all have a role to play
Yeah.
in shaping the future of creativity in this new AI-driven world.
It's a little scary, but it's also exciting, right?
Yeah,
It feels like we're standing on the edge of something brand new.
for sure.
And we have this incredible opportunity to create a system that actually works for everyone, not just a select few.
I agree. I'm optimistic. I think we can find solutions that balance innovation with the need to protect human creativity.
I like your optimism.
It's important.
And I think Venus Theory would agree. He ends his video on a really hopeful note.
Does he?
Yeah, urging people to keep creating and not let AI steal their passion.
He's absolutely right. The human spirit of creativity is what truly matters. Technology is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's up to us to decide how we use it.
So if you're out there making music, writing stories, creating art, keep going.
Keep creating.
Your work matters.
It does.
And together, we can make sure that human creativity continues to thrive in this brave new world.
Yeah. It's inspiring to hear him say that, even after going through all of that. But it kind of feels like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Either he fights this bogus copyright claim, which could mean lawyers and a whole lot of hassle.
Or he backs down and lets someone else profit from his work. Exactly. Neither option is really a win.
Nope.
It just highlights how unbalanced the system is right now.
Yeah.
Big companies with tons of resources can basically get away with exploiting these loopholes, while independent creators are left scrambling to protect themselves.
It's true. It's a total David versus Goliath situation.
So what can creators do to protect themselves in the meantime?
Well, I think first and foremost, knowledge is power.
Right.
Stay informed about how AI is changing the music industry and understand the potential copyright risks. The more you know, the better prepared you'll be to navigate this whole tricky terrain.
Don't be caught sleeping at the wheel.
Exactly. And document everything.
Yeah.
Keep detailed records of your creative process, drafts, demos, timestamps, all that stuff.
Right.
If a dispute does arise, having that paper trail can be a lifesaver.
Trust but verify.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to speak up,
Yeah.
Talk to other creators, share your experiences, and push for change. The more we raise awareness about these issues, the more pressure we can put on platforms and policymakers to actually find real solutions.
So Venus Theory, taking the time to copyright claim himself, was a pretty bold move.
It was.
It really drives home the point that we can't just sit back and wait for someone else to fix this.
Absolutely. We all have a responsibility to shape the future of creativity in this new AI-driven world.
This whole conversation has been pretty intense.
Yeah.
But it's also been really exciting,
Yeah.
It feels like we're standing on the edge of something brand new. And we have this incredible opportunity to create a system that actually works for everyone.
I agree with you. I think there's real potential here to find a balance between encouraging innovation and safeguarding human creativity. It's a challenge.
It is.
But I'm optimistic that we can rise to it.
I like your optimism, and I think Venus Theory would agree.
Yeah.
He ends his video on a really hopeful note, urging people to keep creating and not let AI steal their passion.
Couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, it's the human spark of creativity that makes all this worthwhile.
Right.
Technology is simply a tool, and it's up to us to use it responsibly and for good.
Well said. So, to everyone out there making music, writing, painting, designing, whatever it is you do, keep at it.
Keep creating.
Your work is important, and together, we can ensure that human creativity continues to flourish in this ever-changing world.
Well, that was quite a deep dive.
It really was. And if you want to learn more, be sure to check out the links to Venus Theory's videos in our show notes.
Yeah, he lays it all out in a really engaging way.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep creating.
And we'll be here to help you navigate the ever-evolving world of knowledge.
This has been The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening.